Hey everybody, welcome to No Breakaways, your source for all the virtual racing tips and tricks and now commentary and everything else. I titled this one A Little Bit of Complaining. I'm sorry in advance. I'm here with my awesome co-host, Jordan Shane, who I realize that I have tagged wrong. That's Kevin's Instagram tag down there. I'll change that. He's from Project... Yeah.
Send them to Kevin's Instagram. It's better than mine.
Hey, Kevin's Instagram would, yeah, your Instagram, you've posted like once in the past 4 years. But Jordan races for Project Echelon. Pretty cool. And go to peakformcoaching.com, which I will just add in there now. Jordan, what is going on? What you been up to, man?
Been a crazy time. We got back from the north, your northeast, our southeast in Canada, visiting family. So it was like proper winter there. We did like 6 days of kind of pre-Christmas. That was cool. John didn't quite make it home in time for the Cycling Canada qualifier on Wednesday. Did the one this Wednesday, and we can talk about that in a bit. But yeah, it's been a bit busy time. You leave the house for 6 days, and all of a sudden there's like 60 new deliveries of furniture that I have to build.
We do have to get something out of the way up front here.
Mm-hmm.
You got a microphone. Yeah,
I did. So we hear your feedback, and maybe you were hearing my feedback.
Yeah, I liked it. That was excellent.
So I don't know. I got the Amazon's choice microphone. So if it's still bad, blame Amazon. It's their choice.
Yeah,
it wasn't mine.
Yeah, well, we will blame Amazon. I actually had to get a new mic too because I busted my other one. So
you sound so crisp.
I know. I always sound great. I also sound like I have a cold because I have a cold, which I know this is going to be a topic of conversation that's going to come up in a couple minutes, Jordan. That you're going to be like, "Oh, I'm a coach. You should do this and that."
You're in the middle of something. So.
I am. So let's jump right into it. So I am doing the 30 for 30 races in 30 days. We missed the episode last week where I could have talked about it, but yeah, I'm this was day 16 today, I think. 15 or 6. It's day 16 today.
Well over the halfway mark.
Well over the halfway mark. Yeah, it's Friday, so it's day 16. I gotta admit, I feel great.
Really?
Honestly, I've set my best for 2021. I've set my best 20-minute power, 1-minute power, 15-second power. Not at the start, not in race number 1, just like in the middle.
Yeah. So there was a dip there, eh? That beginning, probably 2 good races, and then
it was actually I made it. Here's the thing: Zwift races are so short that I don't think it's that big a deal. Where I hit a dip, so the draft guys, like the good draft guys, they're all good draft guys compared to me, but the draft A guys were like, "Hey, we're putting together a TTT for the World Bicycle Relief," and I was like, "I'll hop in," because they said it was going to be like mostly B's, and then it ended up mostly A's. And let me tell you what, Jordan, that's just not my scene. That is not my scene. Okay, I hung on. The TTT was 1 hour. I made it 7 minutes.
Wow. I mean, by probably 7 minutes at like 5 watts a kilo, right?
Dude, I was sitting in averaging like 4.2, 4.3. And that was like the day I felt the worst to begin with. And I was like, oh God, this is no good. Like, this is not going to end well.
Well, I think during our Premier League stint, we once had a rider last only 3.5 minutes in the TTT. So you're Premier League quality on that already. But yeah, that's a tough one. But does that count as a race? Your 7 minutes?
Okay. Yes. Hey, Matt Gardner. He's tuned in. It's good to see. Does my 7 minutes count as a race? No, it would not. But so the team took an hour. So then I was by myself, and I didn't want to have to do another race. So I rode the next 51 minutes hard by myself. So I basically really dug myself a hole that day. It was...
What's your average race time? Because there's a lot of races you can get away with that are like 28 minutes, 31 minutes. What's your average right now?
So I'm averaging about 270 minutes a week, which is what? Yeah, it's about 40 minutes. About 40 minutes. Yeah. because
That's a fair amount, though. Like considering that's probably almost as much intensity as I do in the week out of like
well,
23, 4
here
hours.
here's the thing, Jordan. Let's get real. I've told you this 100 times. When I'm racing, I'm drafting pretty hard. So
Yeah.
my average watt per kilogram for the first 2 weeks is 3.3 in the B's.
Wow.
And that, yeah.
Uh,
So
so maybe you're just the man to do this
I
challenge because
really
you
am.
can get through it unscathed.
So, and
Because I'd be dead, man. I'd be dead because I'd be attacking. I'd be throwing down every time. Maybe I'd last a week. I think it really would hurt.
I've done a fair amount of attacking, actually. I've done a fair amount of attacking, but then I've had to like one of the races was only 13 minutes because I was like, that was the day after that. I was just blown out, and I was like, I gotta do a short race. But I had a great sprint that day. Like it's been way different than I thought, but I have absolutely loved it. And it's funny, like Matt Gardner's watching because I was always like, how the hell do those guys race 5 days a week? When I'm done with this, I'm just gonna race every day. Like I don't.
Oh, I don't know how long this train gets to stay on the tracks. That's pretty demanding. Like
It is, but the thing is, it gets me on the bike, and like I hate doing easy rides. I hate doing easy rides. I've always hated it.
If you could like decide like, oh, there's 2 races of the week that I'm really gonna go hard, and the other ones I'm just gonna be sneaky and sprint at the end, and I could see it working.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What do you know about it? You're a professional cycling coach, Jordan.
Yeah, what do I know about it? No, like there's guys that I coach that replace way too many workouts with races sometimes because it is a lot more fun.
Yeah.
And but if you go hard in all of them, it really grinds you down after a while.
By the way, I was thinking about you because one day I screwed up. I didn't race during the day, and then I was like, "Oh crap! I got to get a race at night." And there were only 2 races left that I could do before like 10 p.m., which is past my bedtime. One was like a flat race, and the other was Alpe du Zwift. And last time we talked, you're like, I hope you get stuck doing an Alpe du Zwift race. It was so close, man. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I would just like stay up till midnight or something so I didn't have to race Alpe.
Yeah, it's like what? It's probably an hour, right? In your current fitness level, maybe. Yeah,
No,
that one, Rick. I'd love to see your sneaky tactics
dude,
there.
I'd get buried. I got yelled at one time this week for not pulling. It was we were in a break. Yeah. It wasn't even a breakaway. It was just like it was a mixed cat race. There was 3 of us together, and a dude was like, "Aren't you 2 gonna pull?" And I just like did not pull. So, and then we dropped him on the leg snapper. So.
Well, then you were the smart one.
I know that was it. If I could pull, then I'd be up with the next group, man. Why would I pull if you're going to do the work?
I would say 90% of the time you ask someone to pull in an angry way, they pull less than they would have because it's a tactical decision. And my move is, and now it's going to spoil it if anybody's listening. If
Matt's listening. Matt Gardner's listening. You better watch out.
He doesn't care about me, but I think maybe I have a little bit of clout with the pro badge. If I'm racing and I want someone to pull, I'll give them a ride on, and then they're like, yes, and I want to at least in my mind, I'm like, I'm moving the chess pieces around.
I forgot you have the pro badge.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe I can play Kingmaker here a little bit and be like, oh, if you pull for me, kid, I'll take you to the stars. But
dude,
how wrong they would be.
People got to attack you all the time with that pro badge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get a lot of people sitting on, and which is fine. Hey, like on the road, it's a bit creepy if someone just starts drafting you, and you don't know they're there and don't say anything. On Zwift, hey, it's fine. We move faster together, and if you want to chat, sure, that's cool.
Yeah.
But that's about my only good Zwift tactic, I think, is the random ride.
Is the ride on to try to get people to pull. I like it.
How do you know you're being had if you? I don't actually want you to ride on. I just
yeah.
But well, that's good, man. And how's everything else? Like, body's feeling good, sleep's good. Are you losing weight doing these ball busters or what?
So, okay, let's go through it. Body feels okay. My kids brought a cold home. So it's tempting to be like, well, you should stop. I'm like, it's going to be what it's going to be. The kids bring colds home about once a month, and I get them on schedule once a month. Sleep has been better. Like I have the Whoop strap thing and it tracks all that. My sleep has been better. Honestly, it's been better hearing this than it's been any time in the past year.
Interesting. Wow, it's a case study.
I
You're going to
didn't.
write some articles for Swift Insider. I think that's interesting,
Yeah, like
actually.
it is weird, and like at the end, I'm gonna chart out all the data and stuff because I'm a nerd. But yeah, it's been really good. I mean, I've loved it. It's honestly, it's been so motivating. I wish I would have done it before. And yeah, like
Yeah,
like Matt said, he doesn't expect every greatness every race, right? Like sometimes you get
yeah.
like
That's a mental health.
I've been
That's a
some
mental health for sure.
I've done some of the like the hard Euro races, which I've really those are like some of my favorite. I like racing against those people. Like it's
Yeah.
just although I did the Legion crit series, which I'm gonna this is I titled it a little bit of complaining. This is gonna be my complaining.
Here's when we start complaining. Wow, we made it 11 and a half minutes in.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
11 minutes and 9 seconds. Yeah, yeah. So I did the Legion race, and everybody knew the finish was off in that. But there were so many people in it that you couldn't see the front or back of the pack. You didn't know where you were. Like
Hmm.
I it's one thing when you're doing like a group ride thing, like the Tour de Zwift or whatever, and you're not that but like it's in a race, it was very odd. It was very odd.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I think there were 170 people in the front group or something. And I mean,
Totally.
and you can't drop anybody on that Neo Tokyo Crit circuit. So
Especially 170 people to go through.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Geez. Yeah. I don't think I've ever done one. I think I've done like 100, but not, that's
it
huge.
was. I mean, it, it was okay. Like there was always somebody pulling hard at the front, so it was pretty high watts per kilogram for me.
Mm,
Uh,
yeah.
but like the lowest you could sit in the group was 3.5 watts per kilogram, which is high for a B group on a flat course. That means somebody who's always pulling at 4.2, 4.3 on the front.
Right.
But
Yeah. At least. Yeah. Well, you're going to have the highest average speed of the month as well of
right,
any ride there too. It's going to be like what, 27 miles an hour or
dude,
something.
I'm getting it. I'm getting no. It's been
Unless you get the Alp in there, that'll bring down the average. Right?
I don't I the Alp would put me so far in a hole because that's the one thing. Like I really enjoy this, but you're also like kind of teetering on the edge. So, like I did Innsbruck ring when I set my highest 1 minute power. We went over the leg snapper twice, and I mean it was just all out. It was really hard. And I mean I was in a hole for a day or two after that, you know.
I feel like it's almost meme worthy how you can never go over the leg snapper without going full out.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever been in a race where it was like, oh, but that was just a tempo lap? It's always been full every time.
Only in the I did a chase race on it, and I was in really good shape then, so it didn't feel all out, and you wanted to keep the group together. That's been the only time.
I
That's
don't care what level it's at. Like, I've done a race with like 11 people, and it's still like, oh yeah, we're going full out on this.
that's what
Cool,
this
cool.
was. It was a mixed cat race, and so my buddy Chris, who's my teammate, was in A, and he just him and some other A were at 9 watts per kilo up it, and we're like trying to hang on, and there's a B, and it was just like, but
Yeah, good times.
it's a good course. It's one of my favorite Zwift courses.
It's actually, even though it doesn't suit me at all, I kind of always enjoy because everybody sort of chills out around the rest of it, and it's like, ah, this is nice, and then, bah, yeah. So
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
fine. Uh,
Well,
and yeah,
and you got some stuff going on, Jordan. So
I do have
let's
stuff
hear
going on.
about worlds
Yeah,
qualifiers. Here is so I didn't even do my complaining yet. I don't know. We'll see. But this is your complaining. So let's get into it.
yeah. Yeah, and I don't want to come on too hard about it because it's like a weird thing. It feels like it shouldn't be so weird, like this whole Zwift Worlds thing. Like, why does it have to be, shit hitting the fan? Like, it's like everybody's got ideas about everything and it's all over the place. The amount of questions I've had about this process as someone that does not work for Zwift or for the Canadian Cycling Association is pretty outstanding. But yeah, we talked about it a bit on the last one with KBH. Canada decided they were going to do a qualifier race for all the spots, no discretionary spots, and they were going to do it on the Knickerbocker course, which is cool. But they only gave people like less than a week's notice for it, and so yeah, I tried very hard to get home in time to do it, and I got home with like 16 minutes before the race, and having traveled for 12 hours, and I was just like, no, it's just not going to happen. Maybe I should have in retrospect, but I don't. I honestly think I would have gotten dropped right away. But yeah, anyway, so we didn't get home for that one, but they did announce halfway through that week, oh, we'll do it in 2 races. So we'll have the same race next week. And I interpreted that as we have 4 spots. We're going to do 2 and 2, which it sounded like what was going to happen anyway. So I raced on Wednesday, gave it my best crack. We got the group down to 5 riders over the two KOMs there, which is like the staircase NYC one, which is like just not quite long enough for me, I think. I mean, you get a little rest in between each of them. And so I was like, I'd give it a really good kick, but everybody'd still be together, and then we'd roll across the flat, and then I'd almost get dropped on that last 20-second kick where everybody sprints. And so anyway, we whittled it down, tried to attack, and couldn't split the group, and like obviously lost the sprint because,
you're not a sprinter.
700 watts, yeah. I tried to attack from like 800 meters and catch them out. Didn't work. Happy with the effort there. And I kind of thought, oh, maybe I'll still qualify because Oliver Dowd was second or something.
Yeah.
So he'd already qualified. And Travis Samuel, I think, already qualified. I thought based on the results of the first race. And so I was 5th, and I was like, oh, maybe one of these guys doesn't want to go. There's a chance. You're saying there's a chance. Anyway, and so I asked them about it today. And I was like, because I'm getting questions like about guys, yeah, I came 3rd and Oliver already qualified, so do I get to go?
Right.
No, I had this thing, and this is where it gets, confusing. They had this thing where you had to have a racing license to qualify. And so the guys, Oliver did not have a racing license for the first race. Neither did Travis Samuel, I assume. And so they got DQ'd for qualification in the first race. The guys that came 4th and 5th qualified in the first race. And so those two had to re-qualify in the second race. Oliver did, Travis didn't. So even though he came second or something like that, he doesn't get to go. The guys that came 4th and 5th get to go. It's so confusing, and nobody knows what's going on. One guy came, 3rd and 5th. He doesn't get to go. It's so strange. I couldn't make heads or tails of it, really. I had to really break it down. But anyway, I'm 3rd alternate on the list. And so, yeah, I don't know. There's this line somewhere,
Here's what I don't understand. I get that this was put together last second. I wish Zwift would have done national. I know it's not national championships because of whatever. But why didn't they just have national qualifiers where all the U.S. people, all the Canada,
Yeah, why do we have continental qualifiers for some random spots?
Yeah,
and like 4 Americans and 1 Canadian or something go from that. It's so weird, and you can tell that maybe at Cycling Canada they're playing from behind here, trying to figure out what goes on in the Zwift racing world. Because it's, we're in a niche here of guys that understand this. And then there's a whole other niche of guys that race all the time, like Matt, who's listening, right? Who are really into it above my level. And so they're just trying to figure it out. And there's for these races too, which is the real kicker that I can complain about. There's 0 verification, none. No weigh-in, no dual record.
There was no weigh-in?
No weigh-in. Oh. So, which I figured I couldn't see anything in the book, like in the tech guide they gave for it, because it was just copy pasted mishmash. It didn't make sense. But I was like, there must be a weigh-in. It's going to come. It's going to be in the instructions. It's going to be. So I kind of watched my weight. I got myself down a little bit for the race, and then there was nothing. And I was like, well, at least I'm accurate at 61 kilos. At least I am in the
61 kilos.
Yeah, that's my race weight.
How tall are you?
5'11".
So I'm 5'7", and I weigh 27 pounds more than you.
Yeah, well, that's something.
That's
also certain. There's no muscles or anything here. I can't gain muscle.
I was actually thinking you and I wonder if even on the road, if I could beat you on a sprint.
There's a little technique. I bet I beat you on the first three or four, but then if I showed you how to do it, you could kill me. Because Emily, actually, I used to be able to kind of duck and dive and beat her, but she could do, like, when she was training, she could do like 950 watts at
Your
like
wife,
100.
Emily?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, her dad was drafted in the NHL, so she's got some explosive genes.
Oh, okay.
Uh, yeah. So, but the first few times I could like come out of the draft with a run and smoke her, but she was 105 pounds and could do 950 watts. There was a
Oh,
time.
no way,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
not,
I
why isn't
mean,
she
she
on
was
Zwift?
because she has a real job and like she can get validation through that. I guess I don't know. And she likes training the dog a lot better than racing a bike. She was good. Like she got up there, she beat some cat two women at one point. She was pretty good, but like life happens, I guess. I can
This.
see her getting back to it eventually. But anyway, yeah, like at a certain point, I'm pretty sure you could blow by me. Uh,
So,
but
so
anyway,
getting back to
uh,
this, like, here's the
yeah.
thing with Cycling Canada, and I'm going to go on my rant about Zwift because I'm just annoyed with it. I don't see why they, like, Tom Thrall last episode was like, yeah, I offered to help Cycling Canada since September. There are so many people you can reach out to. You could just reach out to Eric Schlang, and he'll just tell you what to do. I'll tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Any of the Saris, any of the Next, you like just reach out
Yeah.
to any of the big teams, any of the draft, any of the big teams could just tell you what to do.
Yeah, if you wanted, like, honestly, like, I'm in this enough and enjoy it enough, you can tell we put on a show. I don't even race that much, but I like it. I
Yeah,
like this world. If they said, oh, you want to put together a tech guide for qualification for us, and like, obviously, I would recuse myself from selection then, but I would have done it. I would have actually made that trade and been like, yeah, I want to help because they talk a lot. I'm sure the US Federation does as well about how important virtual is to growing the sport because all these things we talk about, diversity, accessibility, all this stuff, all buzzwords, virtual solves almost all of
all
that.
of
You
them.
can get a $300 trainer and everybody has a phone or a tablet and you can set it up and go and anybody can try it. And like, it would have been great for me it took me like 5 years to break into cycling from when I started riding a bike for fun to figuring out how to get to a race and doing it. Maybe like 3 or 4, but it was a long time. Zwift, you can do it right away. And they see that and they talk about it. But then this stuff is just a bloody mess. Like you can't have a race with no verification for the world championships.
I just
And so in the email back today, they're like, oh, well, we'll verify some of the performances after the fact. Like we'll have guys do some testing. So you can't do that. Like I'll give these guys the benefit of the doubt 100%. But say it comes back that they aren't able to verify this, they've affected the outcome of the race.
right.
Like you can't do that.
Well, that's
It's not.
and that's the thing about, I mean, cheating in real life too, but especially on Zwift. Like, if you have somebody who's not real, who's pulling back brakes, who's doing all that, like that abnormally affects things. I mean, I think in Zwift even more than real life. Like real life, you have doping, but like, it's like somebody has a motor on their bike and they're just pulling groups back, and like these aren't. This is not good, and like the thing I don't understand. It's such a helpful community. It's such a helpful community. All you have to do is ask. Just like leave your ego and just ask.
Or just like general laziness. Like you say, you're like, oh, and I gave them the benefit of two last minute, but Zwift extended the deadlines when made it a full month of notice, and it's coming, right? Like eSport Worlds is going to happen again at some point. We're not all the internet isn't going to collapse and we're going to go into the dark ages. It's going to happen, at some point. Like have some prep, and so like I think some good guys got selected. Hopefully they're all verifiable. I'll admit I have not heard of several of them, which could be a good thing. Like maybe it's the breakthrough. I'll be super magnanimous about all that. Like obviously I would have liked to qualify, but it's just the whole thing of it. It's kind of like I wanted to commit myself and like put in a good effort, and it felt like there wasn't that in reciprocation at all. Like I could have put my weight in at 50 kilograms and crushed everyone, but you give people the benefit of the doubt, but it's not, and I think actually in the first race, however that shook out with the whole license issue, one guy qualified that went to the Rio Olympics on the mountain bike for Canada.
No kidding.
So, which I actually am not in that world. I never heard of him before, and I don't know if he's still racing or whether he's at that level anymore. But that's cool, right? To find, somebody that hasn't been on the scene before, and just massive power, of course, right? Mountain bikers are nuts. So that's cool. But that could have been the theme of the event, though. We could have build up. We could find some diamonds in the rough, like everybody on the level. And the other disappointing part was, and it probably would have been in my favor, is none of the big hitters showed up. Like Lionel Sanders didn't show up. Zero members of the previous team from last year qualified for this year, or even attempted.
Just one. Just one.
Yeah.
You.
Me.
Yeah.
I attempted it.
Well, I thought Pierre Cote, you know how to say his name. He didn't try?
No.
Oh, because
probably didn't work out. Like, probably didn't work out schedule wise. It's still the middle of the week, Wednesday night, and for him, it's 8:00 at night.
I've raced him during this 30 for 30 at that time. Yeah. So
he's in the world. He's in that world, and maybe the message just never got to him because I don't know if I would have known about this if I hadn't asked. Like, I never got an email that said red letters like Zwift qualifiers, So, yeah, anyway, kind of disappointing overall. There's plenty of blame to go around. This could just be better. And I don't like when people say, oh, just be better. I kind of think that's a flippant thing. But in this instant, it could have just been better all around. And we're here to help. And we're here to. And honestly, if they'd said, oh, this is the team, you're not on it, but we'd still like some help or, bridge the gap or communicate with the rest. Anyway, I could, but I think at least Oliver Dowd qualified. He's well into the Zwift world.
Really, yeah, so, I knew him. And I know Travis Samuel's name, too.
Yeah, Travis, I actually grew up in the same town as Travis, so I've been racing with again. He's a couple years younger than me. But yeah, I would say I taught him everything he knows, but I didn't. But but he's an alternate, so he didn't qualify. Yeah. So it'll be Thrall, Dowd, and a few other guys, but I have to admit I don't really know. But we'll see. All the best. I mean, Thrall's a real threat for it.
Yeah.
Finishing, because we didn't finish on the hill either on ours, which more or less made sense because we didn't want to have like an hour and a half race. It was already an hour to do it, the 45K. So that's fine. But yeah, anyway, we'll see. I mean, I'll be cheering for Canada and we'll see what ends up happening. And it wasn't any clearer on the US side really either, right? They had that random RGT race for the last spot, and I don't know who ended up. And Kevin, when he came on here, didn't know whether he qualified yet, right? So it's the same thing.
Well, I
might be breaking the news actually to somebody that they didn't qualify, unfortunately, on this, because this is a private email exchange to find out. So I'm just like, I got races in February. I got to figure out whether I'm doing this or not. And they fortunately responded quickly. They've been back and forth open. That part's been good. It's just been like, maybe we could have got ahead of this. And
I just don't know why. I don't know why every cycling federation, if I was a cycling federation, virtual is where I'd be spending my time.
Yeah.
It's outside is not growing. And honestly, there are so many people like me. I'm not going to race outside. I'm not going to take a risk of getting hurt. I'm not going to go to a race. I'm just not going to do it. It looks fun, but I'm not going to, I just don't.
It's a different thing. Yeah. Right? It's like,
it looks great, but you have 150,000 people on Zwift right now, every week, unique people. Why wouldn't you have planned for this? Why wouldn't you have planned a national championship?
Have it all. Yeah. And I have to say too, they have a weekly recovery ride where they have special guests on, and I was fortunate enough to be invited a couple times to come with the crew. Great idea, and happy to do it, and some really nice people involved. But there wasn't a lot of prep involved. I got asked 2 or 3 questions over the hour I was on it, and it was I would love to talk to people. We're going 1.5 watts per kilo. It's talking pace, and there just wasn't a lot. And I could have talked about racing and how to get into it. And and all that stuff, and it just wasn't there. So it seems like they want to do a lot, but the application isn't quite happening. And and in terms of like Eric comes on and he said he got $80,000 for for the city of Silver City in the state of New Mexico to do a real life race because of digital tourism. And like all of that stuff is possible, like all those buzzwords I just talked about, all that you could totally, because a lot of these federations, I'm sure if you ask them about this, is like, well, we're spread thin, we don't have the budget for a person for that. But it's like, number one, I think you get a lot of volunteer help if you ask.
Yeah.
And B, number two, like Eric, who's an absolute hustler, has shown that you can get a lot of money out of this too. And imagine how much money you could get if you were cycling Canada versus whatever Project Echelon is, right? Like you got the cachet already. So yeah, I don't know. It's a little disappointing, but it's more like confusing than disappointing, right? Which is almost worse. I think I heard that line somewhere. Is like movies can be bad or they can be confusing, and the worst movies are confusing, right? Where you just like, what the hell is going on here? This isn't funny. It's not funny. It's like, it doesn't make sense. And so that's maybe the worst outcome is for it to be confusing, and that's exactly what it was. But
so
that's my rant.
I'm gonna do my rant now because this kind of leads into it. So I saw the Legion series on the Neo Tokyo Crit course was fixed today. It ended at the banner.
Yeah,
I did the Sweden race today on the Neo Tokyo Crit course, and it had the lap counter up there. So it had the like 3 out of 5 or whatever. And it had the little bars and it had the distance. And so we all sprinted to the distance. The bars were all filled up. The lap counter was at 5 of 5, but the bar and the lap counter weren't going together. So the bar would get all the way filled up, and then like it'd be like an eighth of the way through the next one, and the lap counter would go. We all sprint to the distance, and the race just does not end. There's just nothing comes up. And the finish is just like, it's kind of at an arch. It's not a real arch, but it was like in a gateway thing in Neo Tokyo. They have like these gateways. And
this was a huge marquee event.
Huge race.
Right?
There were 450, 480 people total in the race, which it ended up mixed cat, which I've raced with the Sweden people before. They put on a good event. I'm sure it was not supposed to be mixed cat. But anyways, it's just, this was a very high level B race. Like really, really, and we like finish and we just keep pedaling. I didn't go hard. I get passed by 20 people, which is fine. Like I'm not that worried. But then it just ends at the arch. So my counter was at 0 meters. Was at 0 meters remaining. I pedaled for like a minute. Then it resets to like 90 meters, and I have it on video. So whatever the hell they did for this update made it worse. And so here is my...
Refund requested. Am I right? Like Zwift venting area. Refund requested. No, it's just like, it sucks for you as the user, but also it's like, guys, this is an opportunity. This is a big race, right?
So, and here's the thing. Clearly they did not test it.
Yeah. Nothing new, though. Nothing new there. I can finally do a U-turn in the game again. That's sweet.
But why don't they do this? There are how many? So take your 500 or 1,000 biggest racers, the people who race the most. It's going to be people like me, like Cyrus, like Nex, just people who just like racing, and that's what we do. Like, and just be like, hey, you're going to be our beta testers for these races. Every once in a while, we're going to invite you to a course, and you're just going to race it. And it's just going to be mixed cat, and some of you get pummeled. So there's going to be D's, C's, B's, A's in there. And afterwards, just ask us 5 questions. Did the race finish at the banner? Were the lap counters correct? Were the distance of finish? Like, it doesn't have to be rocket science. We're not landing freaking rover on Mars. Like, we're just trying to finish at the freaking banner. Like,
yeah, and you see some of that where they kind of are thinking along those lines with those Zwift HQ races, right? With the testing races, but they get way out over their skis with stuff like the boost mode and stuff like that. And it doesn't really need to be there. And it's like, you got to have the basics right first, and you wonder how much of this stuff that we complain about, like the drafting physics are off sometimes, and like, this and that we complain about the racing dynamics. that maybe never would have evolved if they'd had a base testing group at the beginning. Like what the product, because that seems like what they do with RGT. They take a ton of feedback from every race and like, how does this work? How does this work? And it's not perfect. I'm sure it's evolving, but yeah, you wonder how good it could be if they did that kind of process. Because yeah, we all get used to it and kind of accept it over time. But yeah, maybe it could be better with something like that.
I was just pissed. Like, there's a ton of people out here racing really hard, like doing, and like it just all comes down to like, let's just be organized a little bit. And here's my hottest of hot takes. Are you ready? You ready, Jordan?
Yeah.
And I might even write an article about this sometime.
Okay.
The Zwift drafting physics, they're fine. That's my hottest of hot takes. There is there is zero people who agree with me. Wait, Zwift racing is really fun. It's like this 30 for 30, it's been really, really, really fun. And like, okay, there aren't breakaways. Yeah, there's stuff they should improve. But if everybody really hated the Zwift drafting physics as much as they say they hate the Zwift drafting physics, then they would go race on RGT. People don't actually want outside racing physics. Because here's the deal with the Zwift racing physics. For most people, all of us mid-packers, the Zwift racing physics makes it so that we can stay in that front pack.
Oh, wait. Actually, if you had closer to real life physics, it would be easier to stay in the pack.
But people
you wouldn't have a chance to win every race at the sprint.
Exactly.
You could drop into a race, and instead of being at 80% of your threshold, 90% of your threshold, lots of people race at 100% of the threshold to be in that pack. And it's hard to get dropped, but it's also like super hard to stay in there, like, paradoxically. In a real life physics game, you'd be doing 2 watts a kilo most of the time. So, like, you'd be, moving around. I don't know that, because I know a lot of people that don't like Zwift because they get put in their category and maybe they're at the low end of the category, and it's a time trial every goddamn time.
So here's the thing. I've been in the top, out of my 16 races, I've only been dropped from the top group on hills ever.
Yeah.
And I've only been dropped like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
My average watts per kilo is 3.3. I've had races at 3.1. I've seen guys win Cat A races at 3.1.
Totally.
Like,
no, it's possible. It's possible. But I honestly think it would be even more so in that direction. You'd still only get dropped on the hills. It could be better. Obviously,
it could be better.
But you have to admit that you're in like the 98th percentile of drafting people. So this has to be frustrating for me, because I don't race half as often, a quarter, a tenth as often as you. And like, I get frustrated because it's like, oh, it shouldn't be this hard, man. And I know I can be better. And there was a time when I was racing more, like prep for Worlds last year, where I did get pretty good. But yeah, real life group ride. Like, I went on a little group ride today, and it's like, oh man, it's nice to be in the wheels. You can kind of glide and chill out, and if the time comes to attack, you got plenty in the tank to try it. But yeah, anyway, I accept that take for you. It's very good.
It should be improved. There is stuff that needs to get improved. It should be possible to do a breakaway. But my thing is, I think people would rather get 170th in the Legion crit and be like, shit, I missed it by 4 seconds, if I just would have played it a little better. I think people want that, as opposed to getting 8th in the Legion crit, but getting blasted by a minute and a half because someone broke away, or a group broke away. I honestly think people actually want what Zwift had. Now, I wish they did.
Grand Fondos are very popular on the road, and people get blasted by an hour and a half, but they're racing in their little group, and they love it. And office park crits are very popular, and people get blasted and get lapped and humped.
That's true.
So
you're right. You're right.
You're a little Plato's cave here. You don't know any different, Rick, and maybe you're starting to know a little different.
Did you just say Plato's cave?
Yeah, the idea that if you don't know any different, you're never gonna want for it, right? If you only ever ate gruel, you'd think it was the best food in the world.
Man, that was a pretty fancy analogy. I've never heard that before. I feel like
it's probably not on point. It's probably missing a little bit, but I think it applies. But I spent some time in school, so I gotta show up. Again, Jackie's not here.
Oh,
so
yeah.
She'd be like, well, actually, in Plato's third volume, she'd know.
I know
But
the two of us are now vying for the smartest person on the podcast because no one else is here. So now we can we can rock paper scissors for it.
Well, the only reason IQ of 100 is average only because that's the average, right? So right now, the average, we're on the deviation.
Yeah, we're like 70, 80.
Yeah, we can fight for that.
I like it.
Average between us. But yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe you do more RGT and you'll figure out that you like certain aspects of it. But yeah, just the basic of it working. We got off track there, but it has to work.
Yeah.
At this point, right? It has to work. And I think you'd get a lot of people on a forum that would be like, it's just a video game. Sometimes it doesn't work. But it's like, we pay a lot for this. It's not that hard. That's a big race. It should work better.
That was not good.
Anyway, maybe that brings us into something that does work better and better, ZRL.
Yeah.
Tends to improve, and I think we got the new courses midway through this week. I don't know if you looked at them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you're into it. You're not going to like a couple of them.
I am not. You're correct. I am not going to like a couple of them.
I circled them as ones I might like, and I was like, well, these are the ones Rick will be DS.
Wait, hold on. Are you racing ZRL?
Yes, I think I will do a few of them.
Oh, really? On what team, pray tell? Is it too early? Is it too early?
I've been talking with one of our past podcast guests, and he's made a very alluring offer. And
$1 million.
Yes, 1 million XP.
I'll give you 1 million drops.
Anything in the Zwift store is yours, as far as the eye can see. I only have like 18 million drops that I have.
Do you really?
But yeah, I do.
Oh, okay, I'm taking us on a tangent. Okay, I have spent damn near every drop I've ever gotten. I just got the new disc wheel. Here's the problem. Here's why it was really dumb, because I was like, I'm going to buy everything, which I'm not going to. But now, if you ever want to do a bike switch or find another bike, it's like impossible to do it.
Right. You can't have like a quiver of bikes that's right there.
Why can't I? Why? I want my garage, but I also want my basement where I put all the trash bikes. So,
trash.
Yeah, like I just want to move. I still want to keep them because I like hoarding, but I want to keep them in my basement. I don't want to keep them in my garage where I can see them.
Yes. I would like it even better if I could buy things from the store and they would run out and other people couldn't have them. I would just buy them so other people couldn't have them.
Huh. Yeah.
If they had like a $20 million frame that was no better than any other frame, I would buy it just because I'd be like, I have one.
Jordan, you are describing NFTs.
Sure.
You are describing NFTs. Bikes should be NFTs where there's only so many. And then if you got the really good one, you could buy it from Jordan for $100,000 to save 0.02 seconds in your sprint.
But you wouldn't have to ride whatever I've done 70,000 kilometers or whatever I've done on there to get all those drops.
Yeah, it's evergreen. Yeah, exactly. It's evergreen. Okay. So ZRL court. Look, I know you're talking about Climber's Gambit. So why don't you just talk about it, Jordan?
Yeah. Well, there's some new stuff, and we've been there before with the Innsbruck KOM. Like that was a proper climb finish back a couple seasons ago. This one's probably a harder one. It finishes on the reverse epic. So that's the steep side with the little downhills. It should make an exciting finish. I think you go over Volcano and something else first, and then hit it.
I think it's either reverse or forward, isn't it?
It is reverse.
It is reverse.
All of the KOM.
No, I think you hit the three. I'm not positive. I know you hit Volcano and Epic, but
yeah, it doesn't. I think the reverse or the forward KOM will be the least of your worries.
Here's the thing about these climbing courses, right? I can hit 3.2 on anything, man.
Yeah.
It just depends. It just depends what place I want to finish.
Right.
On London Classic, my jam.
That would be cool. Well, and we've seen that one beaten to death in team time trials, and it'll be like nice to actually see that race as a points race. So I won't be doing that one.
Here's the thing about those races. they're hard as hell because of all the sprint points.
Oh yeah,
They're
and
almost harder than
CRL.
the normal than like climbing courses because it's so hard through the sprint points.
Yeah, well, and my move would be to attack for the sprint point always and
Yeah.
just crush you guys for your insolence. Yeah, and then so another sprinter's course is Neokio, which is probably maybe potentially the shortest CRL we've ever had. That'll take like less than half an hour for the A's, I would think, because we'll just be flying through that.
I love Neo Geo. I love it. I
Yeah,
love the whole
I,
Mercury Islands racing.
yeah,
It's awesome.
I wrote it for the first time, the new stuff this week, actually. And at first, I was actually ready to complain about it because it seemed
Yeah.
very overwhelming.
Yeah.
You sort of like your brain sort of like conditions to it.
Yeah.
All the lights and stuff. It was like, what am I doing?
Right.
You know,
Right.
and there's so many people on it right now too. But yeah, I came to like it. It's definitely flat. Like there's not a feature in there to break anything up.
No, that's not. Have you done railways and rooftops? I'm sorry. I'm trying to pull
Yeah.
up this schedule now. That's really hard. It's a hard course. Did you do the actual course or just the KOM?
I did the course. I didn't race it though, so maybe it's different as a when you're hitting it at speed.
I did. So I did because the thing is, railways and rooftops, you basically just go up the KOM, come down, and go up the KOM. I did it for a Saturday race during this 30 for 30. There were a lot of selections. It was tough. It was a tough course. It was a fun course. Like I think it has like the right size climbs. I think it has like I don't think it's good for free riding because it's a little much on the senses, but
yeah, sure. No, yeah, so that'll be an interesting one. Hopefully they fix their finish line nonsense with that. You're in McCurdy again for the temples and towers, which I'm sure you will skip because that's going to be really hard. And that was the best race of the season, right? Was the whatever course, countryside tour or whatever that was. This one has more climbing, I think. A little different anyway because you use Neokio for part of it, and then you're on that longer tempo climb. Yeah, that'll be cool. I'll try that one out. I haven't raced. I've done a little on gravel. I haven't done anything high level on gravel, so that'll be cool. And then and then Richmond reverse for team time trial. That's cool because we haven't done that before. I know you don't like team time trials, Rick, but that's cool because you hit those little. That'll be difficult because those climbs are steep as hell, right? To keep that sequence, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Try keeping 8 guys together on that. Like that's going to be because especially that one where you come down and you go from big ring to little ring at like 18%. Yeah, that'll be challenging technically. I give them credit because I think that's sort of an inside choice for a course.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that'll be tricky. Like I might have thought of that if I was trying to be mean. So
yeah, I like the courses, and I mean I actually like team time trials if it's with bees and I'm in good shape. But no, like I got to give a lot of credit to WTRL. Like they pick cool courses. Like I like that they did some actual sprinters courses this year because the other ones, like they were kind of sprintery, but then they finish up like classic.
When we looked back, it was like they were almost all. It's like, oh, that's pretty hard, but also a sprint. Yeah, but now there's definitely like some that sprinters not going to win these, and the other ones where it's like breakaway's not going to go. It's going to be sprint.
Like they did Park Perimeter, New York. I think New York is the most underutilized racing place on Zwift. Yeah. New York is fantastic for racing.
Yeah, even though it didn't work out for me, I was racing the Knickerbocker thing and thinking like all those little climbs along the way, trying to tax it on those. Like it's exciting because you don't know if something's going to happen. Almost every other course, you know where it's going to be hard, but those little rollers, it's like, that's a great map. Everything Bagel's probably my favorite race.
You can get away in New York. You can get away on those rollers.
Yeah,
it's a cool, like that's one place I've seen attacks work. That's one place I see pack speed really change. Like I like New York. I like kudos to Zwift on some of the stuff and WTR like good on them for picking these courses.
So that'll be exciting. And January 10th startup on that. It'll take us through the end of February. and then maybe a break from ZRL. I don't know. They ran them really back to back last time. Like it was like 2 weeks, then February, March, almost into April, if I recall.
Well, this one's 8 weeks, and the next one's supposed to be 6 weeks.
6 weeks, and then a proper summer break, maybe. Yeah, they seem to be willing. They seem to be listening and adapting. Something that big kind is going to adapt slow. It can give them, and I can give ZRL, WTRL a lot more wiggle room than Zwift itself, because it's still probably like 5 people running that.
Yeah.
And taking on thousands of people with all their complaints and all the rest of it. So yeah, and I had Kevin offered Premier League to do, and I just don't want it. That's something. It's like I thought about it because I think I'd be competitive, especially at Climbers Gambit, and I could get myself into that pretty well. But it's a Monday and it's the middle of the day. That's honestly the big deal, and the weigh-in and the whole thing. It's I don't want my weekend to become about Premier League again. Especially now, here things are pretty open. You can go on group rides on the weekends and stuff. And I'd just rather people are going to be down here this year to ride with. I'd rather do that and not worry about I got to race on Monday at noon, and I got to be real good for it, or else I'm just going to get screwed.
Yeah.
Zero, I can roll up and be like, I got some wiggle room with the form. If I'm not feeling great, I can still probably have some fun with it. But yeah, I know there's guys that are super dedicated to Premier League that are just basing their week around it, but I just don't really want to go down that road. So yeah, but it'll be fun to get back into it. I got at least a few RGT. I almost missed this. I'm racing RGT this weekend.
Oh, are you in the pro?
Yeah, the Iron Horse. Eric messaged me the other day, and he just said Iron Horse, and I was like, "What are you talking about?"
That's the 80-kilometer one.
Yeah, so I have never raced on. I've ridden on RGT. I've never raced on it before. I haven't. I was already riding Zwift 2 days this week, and I was like, I'm not riding another day indoors to test this out. So I think I'll do my warm up on the course if that's possible. Even I'm figuring out the e-bio passport stuff, which is a little different for RGT. And I think it's pretty straightforward. I'll just load up the weigh-in on that. And if they want any of the power data, I got reams of it. But I'll probably struggle a lot with the dynamics. But I figure 80K. I got some time to figure stuff out.
Ask Jackie. I think Jackie. I know Jackie won the Iron Horse this last weekend.
Oh yeah, I don't think I'll even be at the level to ask someone about it. I just need to actually learn how to use the steering wheel and where the pedals are, that sort of level. I don't need course notes on where the apexes are yet. I just need to learn how to drive the car.
I like it. We could talk about Formula One. I know we're both Formula One.
So hey, I know everybody's a Formula One fan now because the Drive 5, and that's awesome, because I used to be once in a while someone that was into it. I've been watching it since I was a kid.
Same.
I was a Schumacher
Same.
fan.
Oh yeah.
So I came up, I was 9, I guess, when he started winning. So Schumacher was my boy, and Ferrari's my team. I got all sorts of Ferrari stuff. I got model cars.
I didn't peg you as a Ferrari person.
Totally Ferrari.
I might need to get a new co-host.
It was purely because he was the guy when it was my time, right? But I mean, it's a great history. It's an awesome team. They haven't been doing well in the last decade as much, but yeah. So I definitely didn't want Hamilton to win because I want Michael to have the record still. And Hamilton rubs me the wrong ways a lot of times, and I like Max for being so aggressive. I don't know about the way it ended, but you got to admit that was electrifying.
That was the best 20 minutes of motorsports that I've ever watched in my life. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's got to be right up there in terms of a sporting event either. I mean, I've been cursed because I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan and they haven't won in 60 years. And basically the teams I like suck always. I started really watching the Seahawks the year after they won the Super Bowl. So I saw the one where the interception on the
one.
line.
Yeah.
That's how my teams do, right? They always lose. And so, to be on my feet and actually have the guy I wanted to win, whatever the circumstance, it was like, oh man, that's a feeling I don't get very often. But yeah, I won't argue that was exactly fair.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely was
Are
not
you a
fair.
Hamilton guy, Rick? Are you a Hamilton
Oh
guy?
yeah, I watched him in GP2 before he got into Formula One. Like when I say I used to watch all the
No,
GP2.
no, you too. You got the credit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he did things in GP2 that I've never. I even the announcers were like, I don't understand how someone is driving a car like that. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I like Hamilton. I've liked him since before he got into F1. But yeah,
Yeah.
but
Well,
also
undeniably the driver, but
yeah,
he's sort of like evil empire guy, right? Right? Because he's just won for
I
so
I
long.
am pro evil empires because of, but what it basically means is like it's not like Darth Vader or something. And you could say the same thing about biking. Where I like it because those people, the Patriots, Sky, like Team Sky, all those. Well, okay, so let's take Team Sky out. Let's take Team Sky out. The
Oh,
pa-
you like the Yankees too,
no,
Rick?
no, no,
Oh,
no, no, no.
are you a Harlem Globetrotters fan? Well, how brave.
No, I like when no, I'm not a fan of the Patriots, but I like when teams like cross every T, dot every I, and take it like
He is a feeling. Yeah.
and that's what Hamilton has always felt like to me. Like I just like it when people really take it to the nth degree. Like the Patriots have won so much because they've figured out that you're better off drafting tons of people and seeing who works out than being like, well, I'll
Yeah.
trade up to get the like. Those are cool things, like those analytical edges. I always like. It's just
That, yeah. And Mercedes has undeniably been the best team with the current engine.
yeah,
Like they just have it. And but so to see Red Bull come around is pretty cool. And I have a feeling Hamilton will probably still win another one.
for sure.
Although the cars are changing next year, right? So we'll see.
In F1, the team with the most money wins, so Mercedes has the most money.
Ferrari has the most money, dude. They get so
Yeah.
much money for losing. They still get way more money than everyone else gets for winning because
All
they're
right,
like
we
historical.
we got to get off
But
F1. Me and you could talk F1
yeah,
for a long time.
we got to have a new show about F1. I think we got the stuff, man.
Yeah, the problem with that is it's probably a little more saturated than virtual
Yeah,
bike
right.
racing.
Yeah, it's not our
Do
niche.
do we want to do if we're Zwift czar for a day, or do you want to keep it?
Maybe we can tease that. We're at an hour. Maybe we can tease that as a segment on, and we'll have a guest for the next show and get them to take.
Yeah,
Yeah, this was Rick and I were like, we always want to talk about how to make Zwift racing better. We don't want to beat a dead horse about it and kind of talk about the same, pie in the sky ideas. So I think, the segment we are going to do is called Zwift Czar for a day. And so you get to be the racing czar and make any decision you want about the racing. You just get one, though, one pitch, and you get to enact it. And so I think in coming weeks, we'll ask a guest ahead of time to come up with their idea, and Rick and I'll come up with our dumb ideas of the week. And it'll be a challenge because you got to get a new one every week. And like, how do we tweak this game? But it puts the money where your mouth is, right? Because we bitch and bitch. But to come up with a fully formulated plan and then have the other people,
I don't think we complain that much. We don't. We almost always have solutions for the problem we're talking about. Like I was talking about that course. Like, okay, Cycling Canada. We're like, just ask us. I will literally help. I'm literally telling you. If you ask me, I will help. If you want me to be a Zwift beta course tester and go race people on, I will do that. I will do these things. Like I'm willing to put my literal time into this.
Yeah, and it's a strange ecosystem that way because I think in most sports you wouldn't see that. People would want to get paid for their right, but because this is an e-sport, I think you see with Zwift Power that came out of nothing, right? Those are two guys that just wanted to help.
Yeah.
And so maybe this is a cool way to do that. And hey, wouldn't it make the whole what are we episode 30 now? Is that
next one's 30? Big 3-0.
Okay, we're turning 30. It's time to get our lives together. Settle down, white picket fence for the podcast and the show. But anyway, wouldn't it make the whole thing worthwhile if one of these ideas somehow made it?
That'd be cool.
But so we'll try in coming weeks. We're going to try to come up with some ideas. And in the comments, like if you got an idea, hit us up. Hashtag SwiftStar.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, we'll get it trending on Twitter.
And it could be about non-racing stuff too, right? Like I think we tend towards the racing side because that's what we're passionate about. But the whole thing, So we'll try that in further weeks, and we'll try to. Mona Lee just did a virtual Everest thing, so we got to get her on.
Yeah. Well, I'll email her and beg her to come on and spend some time with us. The problem is, again, we can't compete for the smartest person on the show if we bring a guest on.
I'm kind of more comfortable in that position, to be honest with you.
And Jackie, I keep texting her. I'm like, yo, Jackie, when you coming back? And so it's on the horizon. We're not sure when the horizon's going to get here, but it's on the horizon. All right.
We'll have to do a show like 2 a.m. after she gets off shift or something.
Yeah. She'll still be better than we are.
We'll do it.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in, for listening. We got Jordan Shank, peakformcoaching.com, Project Echelon Racing. Check out No Breakaways on Instagram. You'll get a picture once every 3-4 weeks. It'll be amazing. And
worth it.
Yeah, most of the time it's like a picture of the screens getting ready for us to go on the show. Because I'm not very good at social media. But thanks to everybody for listening, for watching, and we will catch you